The 2018 police crime report indicates a sharp increase in election crime. This is in comparison to 2017, where 27 cases were reported. In 2018, 249 cases of election crimes were reported. Part of these were violent crime. Civil society organizations have carried out a survey, and according to the survey, the people that were surveyed indicate that they have witnessed election violence in the past elections. In fact, as many as 89.3% say they've witnessed crime in past elections. 89.7%, almost 90%, say they expect there to be violence in 2021. What is driving election crime, and what can be done to mitigate such crime? I am Iguma Gabriel, and welcome to Face the Citizens. To you that's watching us at home by television, and those that are seated in the Wizards Auditorium, and our panelists, thank you for being part of the show. In a short while, we will be beginning, but I would like to introduce our panelists. I will start with Mr. Luke Owesigire. He is a Deputy PRO, Kampala Metropolitan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to be here.
Right next to him, Charity Ahimbisibwe. She is from the Citizens Coalition for Electoral Democracy, commonly referred to as CEDU. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Gabriel, and I'm pleased to be here.
We also have from Parliament, the Honorable Gona Hassa Francis. He is the MP for Kabweri County. He's the Shadow Minister for Agriculture. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here. Good evening, viewers.
And finally, Mr. Jonah Jackson Bakali Kwira. He is Assistant Commissioner for National Guidance, Ministry of ICT and National Guidance. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, friends. I'm happy to be with you here.
All right. Let's start with Charity. Civil society organizations did carry out a survey, and from the survey, it looks like people are expecting violence in 2021. Why do people think there's going to be violence in the forthcoming elections?
Okay, Gabriel. Elections, by their very nature, are contentious. And elections have the ability to drive up negative feelings within people. So when civil society carried out the research that they did, they went and asked a number of respondents what their views about elections have been. And some of them raised issues like hate speech for the women. Some of them raised the excessive use of force by the police, and a big number of those, about 47.9%. And we have about 48% of the respondents who said there are so many issues of previous violence that have never been resolved. Like I know of a boy who was shot at, not because he was part of electoral process, but his mother sent him to a trading center in Idudi to buy food for her. And that evening, the supporters of Wadiri, Kasiano, were, not Wadiri, what is his name, the one from Idudi? Katuntu Abdu, were clashing with NRM supporters. And a stray bullet shot through his neck and came from the top part of his lip. He was an S6 student. So he survived death by a whisker. We see a lot of collision of candidates from different political parties when elections are on. We see a lot of intimidation, increased intimidation. We see people in fear. So it is not just that we are predicting. It is true there are areas where there is even ethnic factor, like in Bundi Bujo, in Kasese. They have sentiments that have been their ethnic fights that I don't trust a Mwamba, a Muhiti, a Mbwisi. Those factors are real. So what we've done is to map out the areas that we call hot spots, the areas where it is possible that there is going to be violence. But that does not mean the other areas are free of violence. So the factors that are driving violence, the use of guns, firing bullets by the police. The victims themselves say there is verbal abuse and incitement from politicians like Francis. They go and incite the public and speak very loud negative thoughts. And there is hate speech for the women. And then there is brutality by state agents at 21%, because you see the army sometimes coming in and torturing people because they're trying to ensure law and order. Actually, what was interesting about the research is that 58.4% of the people thought that the police can actually restrain violence.
All right. Let's hear from Honorable. Part of the drivers, are candidates who are inciting violence. But I also know that you were present in Arua when the nation witnessed, levels of violence that probably hadn't seen in a by-election before. And actually, you were the one informing, the country on what was going on. From your perspective, what leads to violence in our elections?
Thank you very much. Fellow countrymen, I think the biggest challenge we have in this country is entitlement. Those of us in the political class think we're entitled to being your bosses, we are entitled to being your leaders, we are entitled to being whatever. And you know what that means? If I am the MP for an area, I'll do everything to retain my position, everything. And when you talk to some of us, they'll say, we have plan A. The plan A is to go and campaign, and after I have campaigned, we should go all the way through and win an election. And then there is plan B. Plan B is, if the opponent is too good for me and is winning, I'll do everything to disrupt an election. Before I got into politics, I come from Kibuku district in eastern Uganda. We had a gentleman who said, without him, the district doesn't exist. Yes. And he decided to beat up everybody. Beat, and I mean beat. Get big sticks, beat up everybody who is against him. That's immaturity, it is intolerance. We own this country together. I don't see why you should beat up an opponent who is possibly presenting a better manifesto to his people than you are. We have known people who have gotten government army uniforms, army boots, and have gone out in the night to terrorize villages into submission. I think that's where the problem starts. Intolerance and a sense of ownership. I mean, what do you call it? Yeah.
Entitlement. You called it.
Really? We are all entitled to being leaders in this country. How I got into the politics of this country, in my constituency, I was told, I just felt I can't present myself. I went in there, and when I presented myself, there was a group who said, that man is not NRM enough. How do you measure the NRM-ness in a person? So I said, I will represent the people anyway. I was cheated, and I was told whether our candidate gets 2 votes or 3 votes, he will get the flag. You want entitlement. When I was cheated, I told this man, well, I don't think this is right. I have a right, like any Ugandan, to stand in this area. And I was told, man, you have lost it because you are out of the party. This sense of NRM has liberated us, NRM has all this and that and the other, without it we are finished, is a lie. That entitlement, wait a moment. From NRM, right? Yes, I did.
Okay.
I walked out of NRM, and the people of that constituency gave me the vote. And I'm here, and I'm serving them.
All right. Let's go to...
we haven't talked about the violence, but we can talk. We have all the time.
Yes, we're going to. JJ.
Yes, please.
You're from a crucial department of national guidance. Picking from the research, people expected that police, main perpetrator. Actually, it's not police. It is young men. From your perspective, what's driving violence, especially in elections?
Thank you very much, comrade. I'm happy to meet you and the members out there. When we go into politics, and then we talk about political violence, we should first of all analyze the actors. Who are the actors in this game? They are the political actors who are campaigning and they want to get the votes, they want to be elected. That's on one side. On the other side, they are the citizens who must be able to be mobilized, and they give the votes. Those are the 2 principal actors, leave alone what the role of government and whatever. But the 2 principal actors are that. And now, as we talk today, when we are in a multi-party dispensation, when we are now Polish, as Honorable said, he was in NRM and he was driven away. Also now the party, which is now contesting for power per se, also becomes another actor. So when you look at that, then when there's a deficit of knowledge of everybody's role, automatically you expect violence. Where there's a gap, that's where Satan dwells, if I'm to use the Christian analogy. Where there's a gap, Satan will of course occupy the space. So in this case, what is that deficit that we must address? Both the political actors at the party level, they must stick to the fundamentals that drive politics. First of all, parties have got constitutions, they have got their programs, and they have got their codes. But unfortunately, when people are going to go there into the political contestation, I can take you on this, and we can also go into research. How many people understand the constitution of their parties which they are signing for? There's that deficit. Then also the voters, we go there when they don't know exactly the purpose of that kind of the vote. You say, yes, I want to go for MP, but what's the purpose? So to address that gap, that's when it calls in for a deliberate civic education. Parties must invest heavily in the civic education of the populace and also their candidates, so that they go there from uninformed position that, yes, I'm a candidate, these are the do's and these are the don'ts. We all stand for this good, because no party wants bad. Across board, everybody wants the good. But if the good is not unpacked, definitely you'll find that kind of contradiction.
All right.
Then also the population must be educated entirely that now, please, when you are going through that kind of contestation, these are the things that you must do. We want a candidate, we want to elect a representative in position A. What are the parameters that must be followed? And what is expected of you? When all organs, when all the players have got that information, then to be able to contain this vice of violence that will become amidst of them.
All right, let's bring the police in. Afande, police has been accused many times of politicking instead of policing. What exactly is going on? Because as one of the drivers, police actually marks very high as a driver of violence in elections.
Yes, I've heard about that also. And a lot of reports have been made at the end of the day by civil society, human rights activists that come out and entail the degree of politicking that they allege that is in police. But you should know we are stakeholders in all this, that we are entitled in making sure that the electoral process is followed to the dot. That is why we have acts like the Parliamentary Election Act, Presidential Election Act, Local Council Election Act that are there and are supposed to be policed by us. So in most cases, whenever allegations come out that this and this has happened or we've seen it happening, and we tend to prosecute the perpetrators of this, those words will of course come out and they will start alleging that police is being political in this matter. But you all know that these are cases that are heard fairly in courts of law. You can go there and defend yourself against that. It's not a matter of alleging something that cannot be proved.
There are the courts of law, and then there are the courts of public opinion, where, for example, you'll watch police escort one group and refuse another group to do what they are supposed to do politically.
To be fair, all the candidates that are supposed to participate in the elections are given equal security.
Equal security
for all candidates, because it is upon us. If anything bad happened to a candidate of a certain party, it comes to us who have not given that person protection.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me ask very quickly, do all candidates get equal protection from the police?
Well, thank you very much for allowing me to say no. Because, I've been in this game. Many times, there's this, the Public Order Management Bill, which allows us, our Act now, which says you inform the police about what you're going to do in an area. And when you inform the police says, we don't have the capacity to protect you, we cannot ensure your security, so your activity is not sanctioned.
And some of these
And when that happens, the police actually just pulls out. So I really think the police is doing a bit more of protecting a few people. I support Muntu, I'll tell you that. General Muntu has walked through places and nothing happens to him, to the extent that other people in the opposition think Muntu is a mole supported by the government. I don't know whether you noticed that, but it's so obvious that you know what I'm saying.
All right.
When my friend, they call him Poa, Amriat, walked through, even by just standing out of his car, the police comes out massively. So let's get honest. You know, let's get honest.
Well, the good thing is that Ugandans see this, and we will get answers from this panel so that we know the actual situation. But it's time for us to take a break.
Wow,
when we
that's
come back
nice.
from the break, we will take questions from those in the
you.
auditorium. Stay tuned. Welcome back from the break. Thank you very much for staying with us here on Face the Citizens. I'm your host, Igoma Gabriel, and today we're having a discussion about election violence. Trends show that past elections have been violent, especially by-elections in the recent past, and Ugandans think that the 2021 elections are going to be violent. In the first segment, we understood what drives violence, and we had pockets of the solution to violence. But I'd like to inform you that we have been joined by another guest, a high-profile guest, the leader of opposition in the 10th Parliament, the Honorable Betty Awolo-Chan, also the District Woman MP for Gulu Municipality. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Gulu District.
Gulu District, yes, Gulu District, yes. Our other panelists, Mr. Luke Owesigire, Deputy PRO, Kampala Metropolitan, Charity Ahimbisiwe, Communications and Advocacy Manager at SEDU, Mr. Jonah Jackson Bakalikwira, Bakalikwira, Assistant Commissioner for National Guidance, Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, and the Honorable Francisco Nahasa, MP, Kabweri County. He's also Shadow Minister for Agriculture. I'd like to point out something interesting that was found in the research. People found police as a driver of violence and yet a key actor, in fact, the main actor in stopping violence, keeping law and order. And people are saying they're willing to work with the police. What is police doing to ensure that violence does not escalate in political situations? And we've been told those are highly charged situations.
Yes, one of the things that we are trying to do is the sensitization part. Using our community liaison officers, they come out with information on what people are supposed to do in case any case of violence is committed against you, where to report it, especially issues to do with elections. And for that, we've put up desks from the regional police department to the divisional police departments up to the district level, whereby such cases are registered, political and electoral desks.
All right, but
whereby such cases are registered and investigated.
You're giving people information. You put this, but this is what you're doing for the citizens. What are you doing for the police officers? Because they are actors. We have heard that they drive the violence.
Yes.
Shooting, in the air, or stopping people from going where they're legally allowed to go.
We are doing a lot for the police officers. Of recent, we came out and informed you that many of our officers are going through courses, refresher courses. I became a police officer probably five years ago. Have you been reoriented about what you're supposed to be doing as a police officer? So politics change everywhere. So we have new mechanisms of politics, mechanisms of violence. How are they coming in? So all those things, we take them through. We take our officers through all these things, and they come out refreshed people.
All right.
Yes.
Honorable Awolo-Chan, what has your experience been in relation to violence in elections?
Thank you very much. As long as we are still under President Museveni, playing around with this constitution, because the Constitutional Assembly was actually constituted by him. And later, he decided to take off those articles which would make the Constitution powerful. A lot of powers were vested in the president, and this then have to control the years that a president has to be in power. and he removed the term limit in 2005. So he has become a dictator. The police, I don't blame them in totality. You know, they take order from above. And this order from above is from the power that be. The power that be is responsible for the actions of the police. They don't actually follow the law. They are no longer people's police. They are no longer, can I say, institutional. They work for one person's interest. And that is why people suffer a lot. People suffer. And as long as Ugandans decide to keep quiet about it, people who know this problem and keep quiet are the real enemies of the people who are suffering down there.
All right, Honorable Awol, you are the leader of opposition, which means you did go through an election as an opposition, candidate, and you won. How come you did?
I should tell you that it takes a lot of efforts for an opposition to win. Because in the first place, I have not said that these policemen and women have problems. But when orders are given, then the orders taken. They do whatever it takes. So for me, I love the youth very much, the sons and daughters. They have loved me so much in Gulo, even when they are given contrary instructions, they do the needful. And it takes also a lot of efforts to sensitize them. What should have been the work of, like, Human Rights Commission, you find that a member of parliament has to do it in order for this member of parliament maybe to go through in an election. So this is unfair.
All right.
So you have to work even almost 10 times harder than for your opponent in the other side,
All
the
right.
NRM. So this must stop. We must all be given fair playground.
Okay,
And as long as President Museveni is the one to appoint the electoral commission, the chairman, electoral commission, and you see only the NRMs there, it is still going to be a real hurdle. You can see that out of 400, I can now say 460, because 459 members of parliament, how many are opposition? This is all because of that. Not that people hate opposition. People love opposition. People want to see that the democracy and good governance in Uganda actually continues to improve.
Okay.
But how can it improve when we are under a dictator? Thank you.
We have from the Ministry of ICT, JJ,
Yes,
would
please.
like your guidance, your national guidance.
Thank you
on-
very much. Thank you
on
very much.
the issues that have been raised by the
Dear
League of
members
Opposition.
and those seeing us outside there, we should appreciate that election violence is a bad vice. And all of us want peace, we want good. And we should also appreciate that in the political game, as I call it, everybody is responsible.
Correct.
But unfortunately, the actors there are not sincere. There's lack of honesty. Ask your question, why should somebody, get a stone and throw it at a policeman who is ensuring that there is security at the polling station or whatever? Who has now insinuated that young man to get that stone? There must be somebody, an actor there. And most of those people who are driving that kind of thing are those ones contesting for positions. They go there and tell the population that, please, now do A, B, C, D, and I go through. They tell them a lot of falsehoods. That's why I say there's that kind of information gap. Yeah. They tell them, even at micro level and macro level, said, I'm contesting to be a councillor. Let us take at the LC2. And they tell me that when you elect me, I'm going to construct a school. So in such kind of situation of falsehood, what do you expect? Now he's going to organize the support of some uninformed young men and women and tell them that the only way we can do that one is to instill violence. That's why I'm calling upon all actors to go to the fundamentals that now should deal should lead somebody to make a political, rational decision. Right. It's not a question of dictatorship or whatever, but let us fight for that common good which we all desire as Ugandans.
All right. But Honorable Awol, we will give you a chance to respond.
I wanted to ask a question.
Okay, well, it's actually time for questions. Very quickly, though.
Yes, a question. Who were the people blocking the opposition from accessing a radio station? Was it the youth or was it government?
All right.
And who are the people who tear gas people? Is it opposition? Are they...
All right. We've taken that question. No, you're going to respond to the questions.
Thank you. I would like to respond to the first
Your name,
session.
please.
I'm called Akelo Wangapriska. The deputy PRO tried to tell us earlier that they are entitled to keeping peace in elections. But in very many cases, we have seen that extra forces like the military, they are actually doing what the police is supposed to do. What are you planning to do in the upcoming elections? Because this military, they are actually violent.
Okay.
They take people in a way that they shouldn't.
All right.
Mbabali Solomon is the name.
Yes, Solomon.
From Chambogo University. I would like to just react on the point given by our spokesperson, Kampala Metropolitan. I talked about the police bringing out harmony. But we find out that there is one key factor. There is both lack of respect, first of all, between among the police officers and at times the audience. You find that the police, just in a way of acting or bringing out peace, they tend to use a lot of force. Like this also happens at the university level, just in the elections. Like at Chambogo University last year, we happened to have a by-election where I was standing as a candidate. But you find that we were just asking for fairness, but a police officer just came out to intimidate. They brought out, they have these big the trucks with, I don't know how I can describe them. One of my supporters was harshly untreated, put on the car without anything like. So
all right.
That instills violence among actually.
Excess use of force.
Thank you so much. My name is Aloyo Sarah. My question goes to Mr. Luke, the Deputy PR.
He's taken all the questions. Yes, please, go ahead.
Yes. I would like to know the preventive measures that you're having in the next elections, because these days you use live bullets, tear gas, and you're not considering the health of Ugandans.
All right.
So what other new measures are you bringing up to curb this violence?
All right.
Thank you. I'm Sandy.
Yes, Sandy.
Look, what really drives police officers to go and embark on politicians who are enclosed in radio stations, sensitizing the public about what they're supposed to do in regards to elections. Thank you.
Okay. We need to respond to these questions. Let's start with JJ. There was a question from the Leader of Opposition.
Yes, thank you, Mama. The question which came from Mama is that who stopped the opposition accessing certain venues. We are talking about election violence. And for us Ugandans, what we need is a peaceful, value-guided election process. And what are these values we are talking about? We want peace, opportunities, blah, blah. These are the things we are analyzing. This violence is either in any party. It is not between opposition and the NRM, which is in power. From the national guidance perspective, that's how we analyze it. Because from the scope where we have had the help of civil society to do some of this research, where Madam is coming from, Center for Basic Research, because government is working in partnership with the civil societies. All these vices are all-inclusive. So we are trying to say, what situation we put in place that can be able to help Ugandans to have a peaceful election which is value-guided so that the people make rational decisions.
Okay. All right, let me find out from Honorable Gonahasa.
Yes, please.
Do the candidates actually talk about values, about peace? Do the candidates drive people away from violence?
That's a very interesting question. First of all, when we are in the campaigns, everybody is talking about what they can do to win the election. We have what we call the civil, I forget what we call it, but there are groups that are doing civic education. That's not for politicians to do. We don't many times have the time to talk about, hey, now people behave like this and like that. I can tell you, in this country, there's a new political party, the Alliance for National Transformation. They talk, we talk like, actually people say, you're not talking like Ugandan politicians. How can you talk about values? How can you talk about modesty? So politicians have no time for this. What I'm thinking is that the civic education system of this country has to be strengthened, it has to be deepened.
All right.
Politicians, like I can tell you in the party that I'm getting aligned to, we think we can be modest. We don't have to be this bad. And in fact, on the platforms that we share information on, when somebody is getting a little vulgar, a little extreme, our administrator says, please, this is not how we work on this platform. So we are beginning to have a party which is thinking about values and modesty and integrity.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is time for us to take a break. I know that the two people on my right have not said much in this segment. When we come back from the break, you will respond to questions. Let's go for a break. The discussion continues after the break. Welcome back from the break. Thank you for staying with us. This is Face the Citizens. I'm your host, Iguma Gabriel. We're having a discussion about election violence because 89.7% of Ugandans that were surveyed believe that there will be violence in 2021. And it is in the best interest of all of us that we make sure that there's no violence in our next general election. What do we need to do to ensure that that is our position? Mr. Luke Owesigire from Police, Charity Ahimbisibwe from SEDU, JJ Bakalikwira from Ministry of ICT, Honorable Gonahasa from Parliament, and Honorable Betty Awolo-Chan, Leader of Opposition in Parliament, are our panelists for today. We have questions that were asked by our audience, and I would like Mr. Owesigire, many of the questions were asked to you. Very quickly, please.
The last question that was asked, a gentleman asked a question about why would we attack politicians who are actually enclosed in a radio station. In Kampala Metropolitan, we've not had such an experience, but a few matters that I remember is that some time back on a top radio show, there were some political activists, I would like to call them, that were actually spreading violence through their talk shows, like they were talking about it here. It should be something that everyone is supposed to get involved in, not to spread violence, but you find people holding talk shows and they're actually spreading violence. And,
all right. And there were cases where they were refused to go. So you anticipated they were going to spread harmful propaganda?
Like I said, we've not had an experience of that in Kampala Metropolitan. I wouldn't want to respond to something that happened in Arua or somewhere. I would like to, you see, in public relations, you should know where you stop. Me, I stop in Kampala Metropolitan. I can only relate to examples of Kampala Metropolitan. Yes, then the other thing was about measures that we plan to put in place other than the tear gas. These are international measures that are in place in case you want to quell any violence.
Tear gas?
It is international. There is nothing wrong about it.
So if there will be tear gas
the live bullets, that is something that, of course, as police, we are trying to restrain our officers from doing. And of course, sometimes we feel for these police officers.
All right.
They are attacked in most cases, and the only tool he has is a gun. And he doesn't want to shoot someone. He will shoot in the air, and if that serves him, that is something that we think is okay for that particular setting. But whereby you expect violence, and then you start shooting bullets, some of those officers have been charged and taken to courts of law.
All right. There are claims of orders from above.
Well, there's nothing like that. I don't know. Every officer is responsible for their action in the field. This I can tell you. If I shot someone, there is nothing like order from above. The above person you're talking about in courts has not shot anyone. No one can give you an order of shooting someone and killing them. If you arrest someone as an officer and you want this person to be prosecuted, you're going to write a statement that you're the officer who arrested him, you've seen the action that this person has done, and you will stand on the docks in court to defend your statement.
All right.
So issues of orders from above, that's your own opinion. I will leave it up to you.
Charity, what usually drives police officers to become violent?
Actually,
Because you're an election observer, you see these things.
like I said, that the police usually comes in like to stop violence in a place of collusion. However, what the public said is that they seem to be in favor of NRM candidates or government people than they are for the other political parties. And we're in a multi-party dispensation. I was actually having a discussion with him that the police needs to improve their image in terms of providing safety for all Ugandans, not some Ugandans. And then I also said the other thing that drives violence is the way results are displayed, the way there's all this whole question of election malpractice. That when a person has given out money, and they are the ones who are in power, and people come and tell you, and you ignore those things. Those are what drive the anger that is within people. Then they react. So we are bound to see a lot of this happening if the police does not clean up right from the community level. And also if we do not give reassurances to Ugandans. But there is hope in what he just said. Every police official is liable for his action. There is a new act, the Human Rights Act. That one, every police official is culpable for his actions. So now there is no more order from above. They do it to your person, please quote the Human Rights Act.
All right, let's take more questions very quickly though.
Thank you very much. I'm called Aruho Adrin.
Yes,
so
Adrin.
My one question, actually the first question goes to Miss Charity.
You can only ask one, unfortunately.
Thank you. Charity, you said that ethnic groups or ethnic factor has caused violence. How are you going about that? Because in this Uganda, we have very many tribes which are conflicting and they are not about to stop in the next generation.
Thank you so much, all the protocol observed. I'm called Opio Bryanson Moses from Chamboko University. There's a point of concern that I managed to derive from Mr. Jackson's speech, that you find that civilians are shooting police with stones. Do they deserve live bullets as a resolution?
Okay. Thank you very much, our moderator, and many thanks to the panelists. I just would like to bring in an insight. Many people have talked. The Assistant Commissioner from the Ministry of ICT saying that all people have to come together as stakeholders. Humanity in a legal perspective and as in regard to the electoral violence. I just do not know whether we should still think or believe that there is rule of law in this country. Because everything we are discussing right here should be derived from the rule of law context. If we are discussing from the rule of law context, I think things would be clear. If the police are one of the perpetrators of electoral violence, then are they acting out of law? Then the members of parliament, irrespective of the existing laws in Uganda, we still have electoral violence, and actually it is showing us that it is continuously going to take place. What must we do?
Thank you very much, Gabriel. I think the biggest problems, the biggest challenge we have here is that direct involvement of the forces in elections are not for all, but to sideline with a particular candidate. Like now we have seen in Kampala, before they have even declared who has won, before somebody has even gone to court, you see battle wagons, anti-aircrafts, mambas, all over, whether Kololo, whether
anti-aircraft.
So,
all right.
So that's already a big challenge. Okay. Then the other challenge is...
Unfortunately, no, we have to get responses to those questions. We don't have much time. So let's start with JJ, and please give your way forward as well, because we're coming to a conclusion.
Thank you very much. Way forward. We must scale up political mobilization and sensitization of all actors. And as the Ministry of Information and National Guidance, we have partnered up with our civil society organizations and the MDAs, was the platform, the Coalition for Civic Education. We are working together to scale up this because we know that the civil societies are partners with government in the issues of governance and development. So we are going to roll out these lessons of rule of law, sensitization of the role of every political actor. We shall reach the FDC, we shall reach the NRM, we shall all reach out all those political parties there so that we tell them about their responsibility and obligations. We don't want to say a case where people are being crucified like Jesus. What is that for? People passing nails. That's an extent of extremism. So through this sensitization, using all the media are present, the radio, barazas, churches, cultural leaders, we are going to unpack that. So that at the end of the day, we create a critical mass which is conscious about electoral processes, which is conscious about what it's supposed to do, and at the end of the day, we shall be able to curtail the political violence, election violence in this country, which is not desirable at all by all.
All right. Somebody asked you, bullets for stones?
That's the first candidate I must indicate.
You should educate them.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Honorable.
Okay, thank you very much, Oketayot. I think that was you. The problem of intolerance, like I said when I started my presentation, is based on thinking because we belong to this group, everybody else is out of the way and they must go. And then the question of ownership. Our politics is monetized. When I sell my property, or when a politician sells his property and pays to make sure that everybody is happy, you know, that's the biggest problem here. You pay for this, you pay for that, and then you think, I must get this thing. By hook or crook, I must be violent, I must do anything. That is the beginning of all this violence. Because many people fear.
How do we stop it?
How do we stop it? Can I finish this question first?
Very quickly, because we're out of time.
Very quickly. So as long as our politics is monetized, we'll continue to have this feeling of ownership. I spend a lot of time, I put in so much money. Actually, some of the people who buy votes do not serve the people. What they do, they earn their big money wherever they earn it, let's say in parliament, and they put it together. After they put it in, the election period comes, and they go and spend it. Now, when they notice they're losing this election, they'll do everything to frighten, to intimidate the electorate and make sure they get what they want. Now, I think the people of this country deserve better. They deserve peace, they deserve comfort in their country. So what happened in our constituency? What we did, like I've already said, I was in NRM, I was cheated, I walked away. I didn't walk into the middle of the road. I walked out of NRM and I went to FDC. Because I don't believe in standing or leaning, like they call it. You are NRM leaning independent. What are you independent about? In your head, you're NRM before you say anything. So let's not concentrate on that. So what we did, we provided a better alternative for the people. And you know what happened? The entire Lujegere, if you know what I mean, these fellows join themselves up in some chain of sorts. They say we have the MP, we have the LC5, we have the LC3s, we have the LC2s, and the LC1s. What we did, we wiped out all that Lujegere in that area, to the extent that the man, one of the people in the leadership told me, this was not an election, it was a revolution. It was actually a strike against bad leadership. Right. So let us provide better leaders. We can make a difference in this country.
Okay. Let's allow. Thank you. Okay. Charity?
Quickly to summarize, the ethnic clashes, thank you for asking the question. It is a big problem, real big. In Bundibujo, those people can't see face-to-face. In Kasese, after the killings by the police, those 100 people who were attacked during the police officers were the minimum number. Majority, 100, were citizens. Anyway, all those issues are being handled through community dialogue processes. There are a few community dialogue processes that have been established by civil society, and we keep calling on the public to be part of the peace process. We are also planning a campaign, a peace campaign during the election season, which I think every young person should be part of, because this election is going to have 72% young voters. The biggest voters are going to be 72%. So every young person in this place, please go spread the word of peace. Let's not kill each other. We need each other.
Afande?
Yes, what I can tell the public is that we've put measures in place to have elections policed before we do the election and also after the post-election violence. We are ready to police that. And what we just want from you is to work together, because the way civil society has put up all these measures of going to radio stations, making adverts on TV, we should all work together to see that we have elections that are not violent, and also police officers that are accountable to the public.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Leader of opposition, yes, please.
The youth, some of the youth of Gulu asked me, Mama, you no longer address us in Kaunda ground. I said, for me to access Kaunda ground, it takes like 3 months, and it takes a lot of efforts. So I don't see the Public Order Management Act is not about permission. It is about notification, that people should notify. Yes. But it has become permission. If you have not received letter of no objection from police, then you find tear gas on these youth who come to be addressed. We have placed in Parliament a private members bill that is on constitutional amendment. And you know, Sedu, you people worked very hard together with the iPod. And iPod is a collection of all the parties. You worked very hard. You got citizens what?
Compact on, yes.
Yes, but it was rejected. It was not signed by NRM. These are the things that we are bringing back. Why don't we actually give people space, give fair space to all political actors? And then secondly, this haphazard recruitment of like LDU. You remember recently LDUs were recruited. Why do you recruit? They say recruit for peace. But I think the time that they make that kind of recruitment and the type of people they recruit is not fair to the people of Uganda.
So what should they do?
I would like to tell the power that be, because it is the power that be. Sometimes they even question us, did you go to the bush when we were fighting? So when we were fighting, where were you? You were under the table. So if they want to leave a good legacy, they should allow people's voices to take precedence.
All right.
And they should allow our private members bill, which is not very far from what iPod and SEDU, civil society did, to take center stage.
All right. We have to leave it there because we are out of time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching today's show. Election violence is not good for anybody. So each of us has a role to play to ensure that our next elections are free, fair, and are violence-free. Thank you for being part of the show. Until next time, good night, God bless you. I'm Igoma Gabriel. Till the next show.